All right, let's dive in. Today, we're breaking down a tactical plan that's all about boosting your exam score in a big way, even if you feel like you're starting late. This is the 100-hour study roadmap, and trust me, it's designed for anyone feeling that pressure. Sound familiar? You see that exam date on the calendar, it's getting closer and closer, and that little knot of pressure in your stomach just starts to tighten. Hey, if you're feeling this way, you are definitely not alone. And, let's be real here. This isn't because you're lazy. It's because life is, well, life. You've got college, a job, family stuff, or just that feeling of being completely overwhelmed by it all. These are real things that push studying to the back of the line. And this roadmap, it's built for exactly that reality. So, how do we actually fix this? It's all about a mindset shift. We're going to move away from feeling guilty and pivot to getting the absolute maximum return on every single hour we put in. That's the whole idea behind the efficient student method. This slide really nails the difference. On one side, you've got the busy student. They feel like there's no time, they're working without a plan, and they're carrying around a lot of guilt. But on the other side, you've got the efficient student. They know they have limited hours, but they use a strategic focus to get the biggest bang for their buck. The key takeaway here isn't about finding more time, it's about making your time really, really count. So, how do we get so efficient? Well, it's not magic. This whole method is built on a super powerful principle that's backed by data from over 50,000 past exam questions. We're talking about focusing only on the topics that show up the most, the ones that make up the bulk of the test. That way, you can master what matters and just ignore the stuff that gives you a low return. It's like focusing on core algebra instead of some obscure geometry theorem that might not even be on the test. You build your skills in layers, first the concept, then speed, then strategy. It's just how our brains are wired to learn best. Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty of the plan itself. I know, 100 hours can sound like a huge number, but when you see how it's broken down into these strategic phases, you'll realize it's completely manageable. And the great thing is, it's super flexible. Maybe you have 10 weeks and can do 10 hours a week, or maybe you're on a tighter deadline and can do 3 hours a day. It all works. Even if you're a working professional, just 2 focused hours a day is all you need to get through this roadmap. So those 100 hours are split into 4 distinct 25-hour sprints. Think of it like a 4-part mission. Phase 1 is all about building that strong foundation. Phase 2 is where we work on speed and accuracy. Phase 3, you're practicing like it's the real deal. And phase 4, that's where the magic happens. This isn't just about reviewing notes. It's about building a personal game plan for the exam, playing to your strengths, and even knowing which questions to skip. So in that first 25-hour phase, the goal is really simple. Just understand the core concepts. By focusing on the most common topics in the math sections, the language and comprehension parts, and logical reasoning, you're going to quickly get a handle on about 70% of the entire exam. It's all about building that momentum right from the start. Now, a plan is one thing, but you need the right tools to actually make it work. So let's look at a simple but incredibly powerful technique that will seriously speed up your improvement. And this right here, this is probably the most critical tool in the entire system. I know that's a bold claim, but the error log is the absolute key to turning your mistakes into your biggest learning moments. The process is ridiculously simple, but it is so effective. Every single time you get a question wrong, you don't just brush it off and move on. No, you log it, you dig in and figure out why you got it wrong. Was it a concept you didn't get? A simple calculation error? Or did you just misread the question? Then you fix it and you try it again later. This process literally hardwires the correct way of thinking into your brain. All right, the big question. Does all this theory actually work in the real world? Let's look at the proof. These are the results from real students who followed this exact 100-hour plan. First, let's look at what you can kind of expect. Now, this isn't a guarantee, of course, but it shows you how your score improves in layers. You get a huge jump just from building that solid foundation, and then the gains just keep piling on as you add speed and strategy on top. Let's make this real. Let's talk about a working professional, someone a lot of you can probably relate to, who is really struggling with the math section. After going through the 100-hour plan, their accuracy went from a shaky 47% all the way up to a really solid 78%. That is a massive improvement, and it came from super targeted, focused effort. And that jump in accuracy, it directly translated to their final score. They leaped from the 63rd percentile to the 92nd. It just goes to show that consistent, smart work beats long, unfocused hours every single time. Next up, let's talk about a final year student. They were juggling college and internship and were pretty weak when it came to data interpretation questions. By just focusing on the targeted practice that the plan lays out, they saw a huge payoff. We're talking a 31 mark improvement in their total score. That is a concrete, life changing number. And finally, a story that I know a lot of you will relate to. A student who had already taken the exam before, but just couldn't get the score they wanted because of inconsistency and a weak strategy. For them, the absolute game changer was phase 4, the strategy part. By learning how to approach the exam intelligently, their percentile score jumped by 29 points. This is the ultimate proof that it's not about studying harder, it's about studying smarter. And that really gets to the core idea from the source of this whole plan, the Bodhi tree. It's all about evolution. It's about taking who you are and where you are right now and transforming into a more effective, more strategic, and ultimately more successful student. You are just 100 focused hours away from a better score. So the only question left is the one you see right here. Are you ready to evolve? Thanks for tuning in.